Hello, welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. My name is Jason, speaking to you here in my basement in the great state of Kansas. And today's video, I'm continuing ranking every single Beatles song. This time I'm covering number 52 to number 58. So we're getting to my top 50 greatest, my favorite Beatles songs. And yeah, love talking about these. I love these songs a whole lot. And yeah, stay tuned to see what they are here on Jason the Old Millennial. Hello, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well here on a Thursday evening, and bringing you again more of my ranking every single Beatles song. This time I'm covering 52 to 49. I think I said 48 on my intro. I always forget. It's 52 to 49. So I'm barely kind of getting into my top 50 here. But yeah, these are still in my really good Beatles song list. I haven't got to the great Beatles song list yet, which is crazy because these songs are so good. A good Beatles song is like a great song. A great Beatles song is the greatest songs ever written, in my opinion. So I think starting with the next series, I'm going to get into the last tier, which is what I call the great Beatles songs. Not that these aren't great. I just kind of had to make them to four different tiers to make it a little bit easier to rank them anyway. So at 52, this is kind of connected to number 53 that I talked about in my last video, which 53 was Real Love. 52 is Free as a Bird. As you know, both songs are the two most recent Beatles songs, if you want to call them that. Came out in, I think, 95 or whatever. Yeah, it came out in 1995 when they made the documentary, the Beatles Anthology series, which in fact I have the Anthology series here. This is the first one of the Anthology series. But yeah, loved the documentary. Watched it back when I was a kid. To me, greatest documentary ever made about the greatest band ever. So and a lot of great interviews and performances, and lots of great montages and editing and all that. Anyways, and remember watching this as a kid, like 12 years old, watching this on TV, and I was already a big Beatles fan at age 12, and so excited for this. And the idea that we're going to get a new song from the Beatles was absolutely incredible idea, because the Beatles were broken up, of course, 1970, and John Lennon died in 1980. At this time, there was three Beatles still alive: Paul, George, and Ringo. And they were in, of course, in this anthology series, getting to do interviews. And John Lennon, they took interviews from the past and implemented them into the documentary really well. So it did sound like he was there giving his thoughts. I thought they did a really good job with that. And so one of the coolest things was, because this was 25 years after they broke up, so they did this whole anthology series on the Beatles. They did 3 shows on TV, each 2 hours long or something like that. The DVD series that I have, I think it's something like 4 or 5 discs with 2 hours a piece or something. I don't know. So it's like 10 hours in total, I think, of footage. So it's really cool to get that much footage on them and really talk about them from beginning to the end of the Beatles. And yeah, so we get Free as a Bird is the new single from the Beatles, which is crazy to say that because obviously John's not around, but yet it's a John's in there. John's singing. John wrote this song, and the other Beatles worked on it. So in some sense, the Beatles wrote this together and worked on it together. So I count it as a Beatles song. I can understand if you say it's not really a Beatles song because John wasn't there in the studio working on it with the other 3. But he was there in spirit, I would say, and like I said, he's a part of it. So the fact that all three worked on the John song, to me, I count it as a Beatles song. And what a Beatles song! I mean, it's something pretty high expectations when you're saying, "Oh, here's a new Beatles song after 25 years," and to go, "Man, I hope it's good," because if it's not good, man, what a disappointment that'd be. But man, this definitely delivers. I absolutely love this song, and I love what they did. And I love when you first saw it, at the very end of the first night of the anthology, they showed this music video with this song, and it's a really good music video. I recommend watching the music video along with it. And yeah, but I love it because you have John singing, and John, his voice sounds very far from a distance, which kind of works because, John's not here at that time when they were doing it. But it was a cool effect on it. I thought it was great. His voice sounded great on the way they did it there. And such a nice song. And what I love about this song, I put it above Real Love, even though I love Real Love a lot. I go back and forth which one I like more, but for the list, I went with Free as a Bird because it was more of a collaborative effort. Because Real Love didn't deal as much with the other Beatles didn't really do much more writing to it or much more adding to it, just a little bit to it. This one, they definitely added the music to it because it was the unfinished song that John wrote in the 70s, or I say late 70s, yeah, late 70s, before he passed away. This was a song he was working on. He had done a demo tape of it, of course. That's how they had access to it. And Yoko Ono gave him access to some demo tapes. And they really loved, this was their favorite one. That's why they put it on night one, because this definitely was the highlight of the whole anthology series, is getting this song. And so John wrote it. It's called Free as a Bird. They think maybe it was a symbol from free from celebrity, because John at the time was kind of taking a step back from being a celebrity and being just a stay-at-home dad kind of at that time, and wasn't doing a lot of new records or concerts. There's a time period where he was just paying attention to raising their youngest son, Sean. And then he came back in the studio, of course, and they did Double Fantasy, which came out after he died. Was the last thing he did. But this was a song that he probably wrote during that time period, kind of talking about that, being free. So very interesting. But what I like about it is that, yeah, you definitely hear George's guitar in there. He does a slide guitar, sounds really great. Of course, Jeff Lynne, I think, is producing it, who's really big on they love doing the slide guitar on it. Sounds really good. Also, you get Paul and George write additional lyrics because it was an unfinished song. So they wrote some additional lyrics and got to sing along in it. And they all got to sing together in it, of course, and I'm sure Ringo's adding drum stuff to it. So it was really cool to see all the Beatles kind of come together on the song and add some lyrics, instrumentation, and of course singing all together again. And it was just beautiful. Just hearing the Beatles again was just absolutely, it's the most amazing thing. And I thought it was great when I saw it back in '95, and still to this day I listen to it and I think it's a really great song. I had amongst some of their best. It went number 2 in the UK, number 6 in the US as a single. So it did fairly well anyways. But yeah, so number 52, Free as a Bird. Number 51, I have the song Revolution. This was a Lennon McCartney song, of course, mostly a song by John, who lead sings it. Another song that he wrote in India. It's a song that doesn't appear on any albums, though it came out probably around the time of the White Album, as there is another version of the song on the White Album called Revolution 1, which is the same lyrics, but it's just a more, not as hard rocking song, and just different tempo and style to it. I don't think, not nearly as good as this version. This definitely is the best version of the song, Revolution, and came as a B-side single to Hey Jude, which went number 1. This single went number 1 in US and UK. Obviously, Hey Jude, one of the greatest songs, I think, ever by the Beatles. And Revolution, another absolutely amazing song, almost in my top 50. So this is one of the best A-side, B-side singles they've ever created during this time period. I mean, it could have been an A-side, I think, and could have done pretty well. But yeah, what I mostly know about this song is the music video. Again, they made kind of a somewhat music video of them just playing the song, and really cool, iconic video, them singing this. And I mean, I love the song because you have to say, because of the guitar. The guitar is absolutely amazing and totally new, seems like, for the Beatles. I mean, it's one of the hardest rock songs the Beatles ever did, and the heaviest guitar playing I've seen from the Beatles. And you gotta love that beginning, that the way it just starts with that incredible guitar, and the sound has a really great kind of almost a new sound for the Beatles with this really cool rock, heavy rock sound. And then with John yelling, you want a the way it went into that whole intro, absolutely amazing. Really, what makes it, I mean, right away, just it hits you right off the bat. Like, wow, this is amazing. I love the sound. And John's scream, and then them going into that Revolution. And throughout the whole song, the guitar is absolutely amazing. I love the sound of that guitar and how it plays. And yeah, like I said, one of the heaviest songs that they did, and that being one of my favorite of their more rocker songs. Yeah, and it's a song about revolution. It's about during time period where we're dealing with the Cold War, we're dealing with communists in Russia and China and all this. And it's interesting because John is definitely a socialist, politically. He's a hippie socialist kind of personality, and he probably agrees with a lot of what the commies believed in Russia and China, but he was against violence. So the whole song, I think, is about we need a revolution, but a peaceful revolution. He was all about peaceful revolution, not a violent revolution takeover. Anyway, so it's like he agreed with them, but yeah, he didn't agree how they got the revolution. So he thinks it definitely needs to be some kind of revolution. Anyway, so I know it's kind of a somewhat controversial song. I think it was even banned, I think, on the radio. I thought I heard at one time, kind of thing. But anyways, but yeah, really great rocker, Revolution, number 51 on my list. All right, getting to my top 50. These two songs are actually they're connected to each other. They came out at the same time. It's kind of hard. They're both equally just absolutely amazing. I love. But for number 50, went with Paperback Writer. Lennon McCartney song, mostly a Paul McCartney song, where he kind of came with this idea of writing a song about an author or somebody who's writing a paperback book. Something that hadn't really been done before. They never ventured into, and I don't think he really knew what exactly it was going to be, but he just kind of came with this idea of like, I wonder if I can write a song about a guy who writes books. Anyways, just an idea that he had, and of course he came out with this great rock song. And it's also considered the first single not to have a love theme to it that the Beatles did, because every single they came up with at that point, I didn't put what year, 1966. Yeah, it came in 1966. So this is when the Beatles were kind of starting to change a little bit. They're getting to where they're spending more time in the studio, not doing so much touring, live touring. So they're doing a lot more interesting things in the studio. Of course, everything was more, I love you, you love me kind of stuff. That was very popular and made for hit catchy singles. This is the first one where it's like, okay, it's not going to be love at all. It's not about loving anybody. It's just about the story about a guy who wants to be a paperback writer. Anyway, so it's kind of a new idea for them, but it works very well. And it feels like, definitely a change, of course, because we're getting into Rubber Soul and Revolver, or just passing Rubber Soul, getting to Revolver, and we're getting to more psychedelic rock era, and we're gonna get that with the next song, in fact. Anyway, so we're kind of getting introduced to it's a little more heavier sound for the Beatles, I think. It's a pretty good rock song. The guitar riffs is really good in this song, and how it starts. And also it starts really Paul being one of the greatest bassists of all time. He really, I think, elevated his ability at the bass. He it was an innovation called the boosted bass, is what I read. And it kind of made the bass sound like a lead instrument, which was starting to happen now at this time. Most bass players just, doom, 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 just keeping the beat, whatever. And this was one of those first ones where it's like, no, the bass is like one of the major elements of the song that's really driving the song. And the bass playing is absolutely amazing. This is, definitely one of the first songs where you're like, wow, Paul is really a good bass player. And I think you get that throughout Rubber Soul and Revolver. I think he definitely, he was a guy who was a guitar player, who wanted to be a guitar player. He was great at guitar, great at piano. The Beatles needed a bass player, and nobody wanted to be the bass player. And so Paul kind of almost reluctantly took over the bass playing job, because bass playing wasn't as cool, I think, as guitar playing, maybe, or even drumming. And so George and John didn't want to play the bass. So Paul could have been a great he's a great guitar player, and he could have, I guess, refused and just played the guitar, and someone else would take in bass. I don't know. But he took up the bass, and he ended up making it a great instrument, I think. I don't know if if he was the first one to really do this, but obviously you got guys like John Entwistle with The Who that also elevated the bass to almost a lead instrument. But I feel like Paul was one of the first ones to really use the bass in a different way and make it a better sound out of these songs. And this definitely is one that's absolutely amazing. It was the #1 single that came out in 1966. like I said, they weren't doing as many tours and stuff. I don't know if this was at the point they probably stopped touring or getting close to it. And they made like 2 music videos out of these 2 songs, I think right before a Revolver. Before a Revolver, they came out with these 2 singles, basically A-side, B-side singles, and this being the A-side, Paperback Writer. And they did a music video. They shot one to show, instead of doing a live, show and seeing them live, they just said, well, we're going to shoot a video and then show that live. And so then you still get to see the Beatles, but they don't have to actually play live in front of people. Anyway, so they started doing that a lot this time. And so, yeah, definitely a lot of changes going on at this moment. But Paperback Writer itself, I mean, I've always loved about it is I love the use of the repetition word of Paperback Writer right after each other to make this almost echo effect. Really unique and really, I think, stands out on this song when, they're playing and then the instruments kind of cut out and Paul goes into that paperback, right, paperback, right, paperback, right. Like how all the Beatles together kind of do this round echo effect. And they did this live, but it doesn't sound quite that good live. It was hard. It was a hard thing to do live, but they did it, I think in Japan when they did that famous concert there. But yeah, that's definitely my favorite part, probably the song, besides the guitar and bass and the drumming sound absolutely amazing in it. And it's just a really good upbeat rock song that absolutely deserves in the top 50 here. So number 50, Paperback Writer. Number 49, just slightly ahead Paperback Writer, is Rain, which was the B-side to Paperback Writer, which was the #1 single in 1966. So again, this is one of my favorite A-side, B-side singles that they ever came out with. Definitely, yeah, probably top 5, up there, along with Hey Jude and Revolution, of course, as I mentioned before. This is kind of I want to say more obscure song from them that you don't hear about as much, or you don't see it in videos or them talking about it or people discussing it as much. But man, I absolutely love this song. Lennon McCartney song, mostly a John song, and it's really the song that really kind of the first song that really kind of got into psychedelic rock, which they'd obviously continue in Revolver with songs like Tomorrow Never Knows, which is a real psychedelic song. I mean, this song deals with, backward guitar playing and singing, doing some interesting, innovative stuff like that, which we got, like I said, in Tomorrow Never Knows, a lot of backwards playing and different sound effects put in. Even I'm Only Sleeping has some backwards guitar playing in it. So they're really dealing with that and adding it to their in the studio to make the song more interesting. And yeah, absolutely love it. And this is a song that it was one of the last songs I ever really heard from the Beatles. It was like when I was a big Beatles fan, I was mostly listening to all the records. I didn't listen to the singles as much. And I remember one time hearing the song Rain. I was like, Rain? I never heard the song Rain. And I'm a big Beatles fan, I'm talking about like when I was a teenager, maybe even into my 20s. Like I never heard the song Rain before. I don't know, it was one of the songs that just eluded me, even though I love the Beatles and I listened to everything I could. Of course, not on any album, so that's probably why I didn't hear it. And I don't remember how I heard it, but I remember one time hearing the song Rain. I'm like, Rain? This is a Beatles song? How come I never heard of the song? And then I heard it and I was like, man, this is an amazing song. Like I absolutely love the kind of psychedelic of it, and don't understand what's about. I mean, the rain and shine and all this. Of course, from what I read, of course, they're taking LSD at this point, so there's some LSD obviously involved in it. And so it's just, John talking about, love and being, high or whatever on LSD. And so he came out with Rain, which is a great song. So it worked, whatever he took, it worked. But yeah, absolutely amazing. I love the, again, bass playing, absolutely amazing. Some of the best drumming that Ringo ever did. I love there's this moment where everything kind of stops and you hear you just hear the drumming and maybe the bass playing, just those 2 instruments, and it kind of slows down and then speed back up and you go back into the song. Like, absolutely love that transition that they do with the drums and the bass. And I love it has this almost kind of this ringing sound to the guitar, of course, when it's like, rain or shine, and they're just single strumming the guitar. It's making this ringing sound. Absolutely love it. And then it goes back into the normal guitar riff and everything. So just absolute masterclass in instrumentation. And obviously the singing's great, great background singing along with John's lead vocals. And it's just a trip of it's a trip of a song. It's just a real trippy song that is just a real joy to the ears, I would say. Anyway, so yeah, so I have there number 49, Rain. Definitely check that out if you haven't heard it. One of the more lesser known, I think, Beatles songs. It's absolutely amazing. So yeah, that's the end of my list today, 52 to 49 of my favorite Beatles songs. So yeah, we're getting into top 50 here. More really, really great Beatles songs to talk about. And feel free to comment. What do you think about these songs? Are they too high, too low? Where would you put them? What do you like in this list? I love to read the comments. And just thank you to everybody watching this video. Thank you for liking it. And thank you to all the subscribers for supporting the channel. I appreciate all of you and I hope you have a good day.